keep striving for this religion that we preach. Keep pushing for nothing's ever out of reach. Because the time we keep on driving, it's all that much we go. The time we keep on fighting, and these colors I wear will be sold through the skins of my soul.
And welcome to another edition of the Luton Town International Podcast. I'm joined by Gav, the Irishman who didn't get a flight over to the game, but Mike Creamer, who can't make tonight, did show it can be done.
In fairness, he's flying from Ireland 45 minutes away. I'm flying from California 11 hours away. A little bit different, Nick. A little bit different.
Okay. Have you ever been in Ireland before planning to fly to a game and not made it?
Have I ever been in Ireland before? I grew up there. What the fuck do you think? You already know the answer to that.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of Kidderminster game.
Oh, yeah. I didn't take a chance of booking a flight that may not actually fly out of Dublin to go to a game that I may not actually make because the flight, if it does take off, will probably be delayed.
Excuses. Anyway,
it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Airlines are a bunch of fucking pricks.
Anyway, we sort of last time we had 5 games to cover. This time we only have the one, so might be a little bit more concentrated on this game. Probably a bit easier rather than popping all over the place.
Hopefully.
So yeah, Forest game. I sort of went along. I mean, I thought before the game, I said before, you know what? I think we can get something. A couple of people at work said, no, not a chance. They're good at home, and we got something.
Yeah, I think Chio said in his interview something about they'd lost 2 games in their last 19 at home or something like that. So yeah, great point. And considering the way it came, even better, right?
Yeah.
Because like you're 2-0 down, 10 minutes plus wherever they add on left, and you're thinking this game's over, and then all of a sudden the Luton never say die attitude pops up. The only thing that really pissed me off about the game is that the coverage of the game, apart from obviously outside of the Luton Town base, the coverage of the game has been completely overshadowed by the fact that Arsenal also came from 2-0 down to draw with Chelsea.
I'm not bothered about that. I was there.
I'm not, but that's what's getting the mainstream coverage, you know?
Well, yeah, it's a later game anyway. But I mean, going through the game, obviously, first half, they had some really good chances. I mean, I think the one that springs out to mind is right in front of me was Lockyer. There's kind of an absolute scramble, and Locke's just got his body in the way, hooks it off the line. We weren't looking at class, but I think they were looking a lot more dangerous. And I think some of the expected goals difference was probably the highest. The expected goals are the highest it's been. But again, Kaminsky made some good saves. The defence held firm. Went in at half time. All square. Then obviously second half, I think I was still having a half-time beer, heard this noise. Is that us? Looks at the TV. No, it's not us. We're having a look and thinking, right, is that offside? Thinking, no, that's been given. So it's things you can do. And then it's obviously went back out there and it's I think we sort of changed shapes of Barkley came on. Then they scored a second and basically 2-0 down. You're kind of thinking, that's it. We're not really going to get 2 away.
Yeah, pretty much. That was my thinking. Is that okay? This game is dead and buried. Let's just not roll over completely. Let's not make this be a 3 or 4-0 defeat, because let's face it, at the end of the day, goal difference may come into account to the bottom 3 teams, and right now we're the best of the bottom 4, so you want to keep it that way, you know.
I think Rob Edwards actually had a different approach to you. You're saying you don't want to roll over and make it 3-4-0. He made some very, very attacking substitutions. I saw some comment on the Forest forum basically saying, so, you know, we brought the substitutions. We went sort of, from the back to 4 at the back, and ends up basically 2 at the back, 4 midfield, 4 up front effectively. And so I think he said after, right, yeah, we don't want to be saying, 2-0 to roll over. We want to be fighting for everything onto this one. And he did. I mean, that's sort of obviously the substitutions made a big difference. I know the Forest fans were furious about their substitutions, but just going through them before we get to the goals. Ross Barkley, I think this is the best game I've seen him have with a losing shirt. And you look at his stats as 94% pass rate completion. So I know you can do anything with stats, but he looked like he was getting it.
Did you just use stats? I'm so proud of you. Wow. Oh my God. I think I'm going to tear up here. It was definitely his best game that I've that I've seen so far for Luton. But even with saying that, there was still like you don't rest in your morals. You always want to get better, and if Forrest's third goal had been allowed, it was on him losing possession in that area. So it's those little things that you want to try cut out. But going forward, and I think like that's why I keep saying if we can find a position for him that doesn't leave Nakamba completely isolated in that defensive midfielder role, if we can find a position for him, he showed that his passing and his ability and his creativity and his eye for a pass. Like there was one piece in the second half, and I can't remember if it was 2-0 or 2-1 at this point, where him, Adebayo, and I want to say Ogbene, or I think it was Ogbene, linked up, and it was just like it was the most fluid passing you ever seen, and it was all because he's seen Eli making that run. There's no doubting that. There's no doubting Barkley's vision, but it's the other aspect of the game that it needs to be done when you're not playing for a top 4 or I guess 6 side now. Like here's the thing: like you look at a team like Arsenal, okay, and
I don't not say Man United.
I was going to say Man United, but I knew it'd get me in trouble.
Yeah,
you look at a team like Arsenal, and you look at a player like Odegaard, and everyone's been raving about Odegaard for the last 12 months, 18 months. He's the heir apparent to De Bruyne's crown as the best player in the Premier League, or maybe even the best player in the world. And one of the things that about him is that he's talked about because he's an attacking player and because he does all these, he assists, he scores goals. His defensive side of the game is not fantastic. Never has been. De Bruyne's isn't either. But
they've got players who sort of get it, who won't make the mistakes, who don't need the people in front of them.
Exactly.
And the way
Arsenal have Rice, and they played Jorginho there. They have Partey there. Man City have Rodri, who is a phenomenal player. If you want to take United do it with Fernandes, and they have Casemiro and whoever wants to play beside him. Every great team does it, and that you have that one player who is maybe a liability defensively, but what he gives you going forward can change games. And that's what I've said it before in this podcast. If we can find a way to not leave Nakamba completely and utterly isolated, then Barkley has to be in that team for his vision and his creativity. Absolutely has to be.
I mean, obviously, moving on with the game before you start going through sort of who's who of sort of Premier League teams that you sort of do second guessing, because I'm going to slate you for that. So I watch the Luton games. Obviously, they got the second goal. It's again came from a cross. You got Kabori's on. Kabori, I think, probably should have maybe done better with the cross. Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's up against a tricky opponent. It's a good header from the Kiwi bloke who scored 2 goals, whatever his name is.
Oh, the most overrated striker in the world.
I'm sure
he scored 2 goals against us. Yeah.
But yeah, so 2-0 he thinks there. But then it's we get away back into the game. And it's now they've got 2 aspects. Obviously, the Forest fans, and I think Match of the Day said the same thing as well. Their defending was shocking. I mean, obviously, player slips, that happens, but then they got 6 players ball watching. But Ogbene, he's quick on it, and it's instinctive, but you're not stopping that shot, are you?
No, and it's exactly what you said. It's instinctive because Forest have a ton of players in the box. None of them react as quick as Ogbene did. To that ball, to the defender slipping, to the ball coming into the box. It wasn't a great free kick. It was pretty fucking woeful, in fairness.
I think the Forest manager said it was the worst delivery of the game, but
yeah, it was a terrible free kick. It was an absolutely woeful free kick. But the defender slips. The Forest players don't react. And it's a case of Ogbene does, and he actually reacts the quickest. There was 2 things about that I couldn't understand. One, why, and I understand he's a new player and that's kind of his MO, but why was Townsend taking the free kick and not Doughty, considering what Doughty's done over the last couple of weeks with free kicks and set pieces? And 2, why the fuck did it take so long for VAR to rule it as a goal? It was plain and obvious in the first replay because no Luton Town player touches it once it leaves Townsend's boot. So the part you're looking from Townsend That's the part you're looking at. And it was obvious that it wasn't even a case of, well, Ogbene's onside, but this player's offside, and is he interfering with play? And now we got to look at this and we got to look at that. It wasn't. Like, every single Luton Town player was onside. And yet it took them 3 minutes. Like,
it was about 3 minutes. And at that point, I'm thinking it's a consolation goal anyway. So point by point, Townsend, I suppose you've got a player who's kind of a proven international who should be able to deliver a ball. It was a terrible ball, but it led to the goal. And I think that's probably why it's, well, if you've got him there, and he's got the left foot, he's got an international left foot, and you're not going to lose that. That would probably be why he'd been put on sort of to take them. As for the VAR, yeah, I mean, I said, we're sitting there thinking, okay, it's more of a consolation, but then he was sort of celebrating. Then you see the VAR check going up, and you're thinking, okay, as soon as you see that, you're thinking, are they going to disallow that? We didn't have the benefit of replays there. Mm-hmm. But I think I did see on the highlights, I said it was quite tight when it comes in. But again, it's a ridiculous offside rule, right? Is his toenail offside or not? And obviously his toenail wasn't. So he's probably been playing on side by someone else's toenail.
It's tight. Yeah, I do agree with you. It's tight. But from the first replay that you saw of that, or even if I'm guessing you watched the highlights, right?
Yeah, I watched the highlights the next morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you watched the highlights, your first instinct watching that at full speed, did you think it was onside? Now, obviously, you already knew it was, but did you look at that and go, "Oh, we got away with one there"?
No, it's.
Exactly.
I mean, I think it's basically you saw at the time there was no suggestion at the time it's offside, as far as I could see.
I just couldn't like. I do agree with you. It's tight, but again, from the first replay, I could not understand from the life of me what they were looking at after that. That should have been a 30-second, minute tops VAR check. I just do not get what they. I don't get what they were like. It honestly, like when it went down for as long as it did, I honestly thought they were looking for a reason to disallow it. That's how I started to feel.
When things normally go on that long, it's normally right. They're going to send him to the monitor. As soon as they send the referee to the monitor, obviously it's overturned.
Yes,
but they won't send him to the monitor for offside. So
yeah, like it honestly, it felt that way. It was probably the longest 3 minutes of my life. You know, it honestly felt like they were looking for a reason to disallow it.
But then I think Cooper made some more substitutions. I think he said basically their centre back, whoever it was, their big centre back, he was struggling with injuries. So they brought on someone who I think a lot of the Forest fans said, right, okay, why on earth would you bring him on to cope with Adebayo brought on? Adebayo is big. The centre back is not. And then obviously as time's ticking on, I think we've been pressing. I mean, there's sort of Adebayo had a sort of decent chance his first touch. I think Woodrow had a snapshot at some point. But then you got Tom Lockyer, launched the ball into the box, and Adebayo, I've got to say, the control and finish was absolutely superb. He missed a sitter last week, but this one, he just killed it on his chest, beat his man for dead, and he just put in an absolute scenes.
It's one of those things where he scores the hard ones and misses the easy ones. It seems like I don't get it. But what a finish! I mean, as you said, absolutely fantastic touch to bring it down, and then just to fire past the goalkeeper. But what I will say, you mentioned Cooper's substitutions there. I actually think that's when Forest went 2-0 up. That's when they lost. That's when they lost the 3 points in my mind, because Wood scores the second goal, and Cooper like does something like this, and then turns around and goes straight away. We're making changes. This game's over. I'm going to rest some players, get some players off the pitch. And I don't know if it was at that point or the next lot of substitutions that you're talking about, but he brought off Elanga, who was, let's face it, the most dangerous player on the pitch, without a doubt. He tore Reece Burke apart in the first half, and I don't think Kabore did much better in the second. But after he came on for Burke, I don't think he did much better. Like, Elanga was the most dangerous player for either side on that pitch, and he took
that. So,
and it just did not make sense. That's when Steve Cooper lost the game, because you look at it like, as you said earlier, Luton went pretty much gung ho. We're going to try get even at 2-0. It was like, we're going to try get something from this game. I'm going to stick on Eloy. I'm going to bring on Townsend. I'm going to bring on Barkley. They went for it. Yeah. They went for it. They brought on Woodrow at the next stop, and they went for it. Now, if you're Steve Cooper, you sit there and think, okay, that's fine. They're going to go attacking. We're dealing with them all right now. I'm not going to make 3 substitutions all in one go. I'm going to leave Elanga on the pitch because now there's going to be more space for him. You know, I'm going to keep, was it Dominguez, I think was your other player? He did pretty good for Forest as well. You know, I'm going to keep him on the pitch because he's a threat. And I'm going to look at him, Elanga, Dominguez, Gibbs White, and Wood. And basically say, look, get at them every opportunity you can get because these players are going to tire. They're going to be going forward so much that you're going to have an opportunity to get to a goal. But he didn't. He just seemed to want to shut up shop. And I think that's where he's
in games, international, also of clubs, sometimes there's a temptation it's to sit in a lead, try and bring on defensive players there. And if they're all right defensive players, but if people are throwing absolutely everything at you, there's obviously the chance something will go in. And I think I did see a few more comments from Forest fans, that's correct. And you can see their game plan. I think you've seen a couple of pundits say it as well. They're saying, right, our game plan is basically to be strong, get as many cross in the box as possible. And when we do get cross in the box, get as many players around them as we possibly can for knockdowns and anything else. Mm-hmm. We're not going to out football sides. But if you put a cross in and you've got players competing for it, don't care how technically gifted you are, some of those are going to drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Totally agree. And like, I keep hearing this word for every single Luton Town game that I've watched is direct. Oh, they're direct. Yeah, we're direct. Like, there's times that we'll go from back to front really quickly, but there's times also where we'll get the ball on the ground and we'll pass it around. Like, we're not a one-dimensional team as some people seem to think.
No, we can play football. We can put some lovely passing moves together, but we can also sort of got these sort of we've got the players there. If you get the cross in, the players you can get in the end of it as well. And in this league, I think that actually works. So it's I think I saw it's Again, match of the day. It's one of the pundits there, Samika Richards. He was saying there was something about Luton. They're direct, they're big, but they've got something about them. He said, you've got Burnley tried pretty football. It's not working because they're playing against prettier footballers. Sheffield United is suddenly showing no fight. Now, Rob Edwards, I think it was, there's one interview he gave. He mentioned fight about 11 times, I think, in the interview. And I think someone said, I wonder what he's focusing on. And that is it. It's a team, I think we've scored the sort of most late goals, second most late goals in the league after the 75th minute or something like that. And that's because this team just do not give up. You know, we try and keep it down, but we're obviously we don't try and sort of get turned over. Obviously, we've got the Villas to come, but we keep on fighting and keep on fighting to the end.
So I do want to talk about Forest's goals. So what did you think of Forest's goals? Let's start with the first one. What did you think of the first one?
The first one, it's a good passing move, but I think Burke is on a booking. He gets turned a bit too easily. I mean, obviously, it's you are looking against I think it's Wood costing 19 million or something from Burnley after 3 goals or something stupid like that. But I think it's you don't want your centre backs or your right backs or whatever positions playing at the time getting beaten there coming through. It was a good passing move. I'll give them that. You're going to be slightly disappointed defensively, but it will happen in this league.
So when I watched it, my instant reaction was, why is Doughty coming across? Because Wood's right behind him. That leaves the space for Wood to get into to end up scoring the goal because he has so much space. And my instant reaction was, why is Alfie coming across? But then it dawned on me after watching the goal back, he's coming across because it's Elanga versus Burke. He obviously doesn't think, as you said, I think Burke was on the yellow card at that point. He obviously doesn't think Burke can handle Elanga. And he leaves Wood completely open. Elanga puts a nice ball. It's a nice passing move, and he puts a nice ball through, and Wood is able to finish it. But if I'm being critical on one thing, and as we said, I don't think Gabore handled it much better in the second half, but I think Edwards got that tactic or that decision to play Burke at right back wrong, just considering who he came up against.
But I don't think, as you said, I don't think Gabore did much better. Gabore is good going forward, but Gabore, I think, has shown that he's not great defensively.
Defensively, he's a liability.
Yeah.
So maybe then at that point you put Doughty on the right and you stick Giles on the left, or you stick
probably either.
No, but Giles wouldn't be coming up against Elanga. You'd have Alfie on Elanga, who Alfie is more defensively sound. You'd be putting Giles against White Gibbs, who, while he was a threat, wasn't as big of a threat as Elanga was.
but there's also making substitutions. You don't want, well, I suppose you don't want to make the defence substitutions unless you have to coming on. I think the other thing you're just saying about players coming across, you might say, okay, he's coming across, he's left him free to get the ball out wide. But equally, you try and stop the threat initially, because I said it's all good at well and good sort of looking at the free players, but if you let the players got the ball stroll through and have a shot, and he scores, fine. You mark the player who didn't have the shot.
Yeah. I have to say I was disappointed in the 2 goals that we let in, because I think you touched on it earlier that, for the second goal, Kabore just doesn't get close enough to Alanga to stop the cross coming in. And again, that was a problem, and that comes back to what we were just talking about, is that Kabore defensively is not as good maybe as Burke. Going forward, he's probably the better option.
Yeah, I mean, Burke's obviously going to be injured now. I don't know how long for. Hopefully
more defensive injuries. Just what we need.
Oh, they seem to add up, don't they? I mean, you've got Osho coming back at least, but got Mengi starting, which you probably wouldn't expect to be starting. But I thought Mengi had a decent game as well.
Yeah, I thought Mengi did well. I thought Locks did. Locks is just...
Locks is Locks.
Yeah, Locks is your solid 7 out of 10 every single week. And there's some games that he may be an 8 or 9, 8, 9, or 10. But I've yet to see him play a game where he's just not there, not at the races, not just like he's your I will put my body on the line, I will die for the cause kind of defender.
And that is why he's the club captain.
And that's why he's the club captain. Exactly. But I thought Mengi did well. Dowdy, apart from the goal, I think did decently. And he's coming against he came up against someone in Gibbs White who, let's face it, has terrorized some bigger teams than Luton. I seem to remember him against Arsenal, I think it was, tearing them apart. So he's come up against bigger teams and done a job. So I think Dowdy did all right. Nakamba.
Also, I think we've got to have a look at the team, because I said Forest, I said before, I thought it was a game we could get something from, but then you look at it, they spent 150 odd million last season. They spent, I think, probably another 100 million this season. So you look at the difference in finances, and we're competing with them.
Yeah, and I mean, they've spent all that money, and there's what, a 5-point gap between the two teams after Saturday's result. It's nothing. Like Forest are, despite all the money they've spent, are still very much in a relegation battle and in a relegation fight.
Potentially. I mean, I would say I've got a lot of respect.
Not potentially, they are. As of right now, they are one of maybe 6-7 teams that you look at and go, at this point in the season, you look at them and go, they could go down.
Yeah, I mean, I think
if they go down, there's 2 teams that you look at, and you kind of look and go, if they go down, is there problems there? Is this more long term than short term? And that's Forest and Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United might just be okay because of parachute payments and everything else, and Forest might just make it, but they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money to be going back down to the Championship.
And Sheffield United, I think they sort of, they need to go up for the parachute payments because of the way the finance were working.
Exactly. I mean, Burnley, I don't think they're as bad, but
they spent some money.
They spent some money, but I mean, they spent the thing with Burnley, I think, is they've spent money, yes, but I think they've spent money on players that, if they can show glimpses this season, even if they do go down, they could probably recoup what they've spent plus more on selling them on in the summer.
I mean, obviously, the club you look at and thinking they'd be the most trouble if they go down is Everton.
Oh, if Everton go down, and I've spoke about this with Jared, who's an Everton fan. If they go down, they're in big trouble. And obviously, today the news that Bill Kenwright passed away. Like that club is. If they go down, you fear for them. You really that's a team that.
I don't fear.
I think it was it Leeds years ago? They were at one point playing Champions League football, and then all of a sudden they got relegated to what the Championship is now. I don't know what it was called back then, but the Championship.
I think at one point they dropped down to League One.
One, and then they went down to League One. Like, you could totally see Everton doing that. If they went down, you could totally see them do that.
Well, Sunderland did it, and it's sort of because they went down.
Another big team, yeah. And it's one of these things where I think a lot of these bigger teams.
Man City dropped 2 divisions as well.
Yep, before their influx of oil money.
I mean,
It's one
obviously their fans now won't remember it, or the sort of
no,
vocal fans, but
yeah, the older ones do very much, and I think they appreciate what they've got now. But a lot of the younger fans who are glory
gotcha.
hunting, don't seem to remember that at one point you were in League One. But it's one of these things where I think clubs just think. I always remember hearing, and I don't know whether it was on TV or whether it was just kind of said around, people I spoke about football with, that, oh, that team's too big to go down.
No such thing.
No such thing. And the problem is, if that's a mentality of a club, oh, we're too big to go down, you could be in real fucking trouble. It could be a rude awakening.
Look at the Championship now. Okay, the top, but so you got Leicester, Leeds, both too big to go down.
Southampton.
Yep. Okay, in Leicester's case, definitely not for very long by the way they're going. But
even like you look at like when me and you were growing up watching football, like Derby County were one of the we're a top flight side, and we're a pretty comfortable top flight side. Yeah, they flirted with relegation, but they were pretty. Like, they had some good players. They were a decent side. Notts County, who we often fought relegation with, And you look at them now, and it's just kind of like, you're not too big to go down. And if you go down, you could be in real trouble. You need to, like, figure this shit out. And that's one of the things that it's nice after everything that we've been through as a football club. It's nice now to not have to worry about that.
Yeah, because the way we've done it, if we do go down, we've set it up nicely and we've got a good championship squad. If we stay up, fantastic as well. Yeah. And the way we're fighting, there's a chance we stay up.
I'm still not totally convinced yet. I said we go down. I will never, in no prediction will I ever say we're going to go down. But I look at it and kind of go, it's a tall task.
But I just said that there's a chance.
There's a chance. There's always a chance. There's always a chance.
I mean, obviously, you've got a couple of issues. Well, I mean, it's not really an issue, but Saturday evening, if one or the other team wins in one game, we're back in the bottom three. That's because Burnley and Bournemouth are playing each other, so a win puts either above us.
Yeah, but again, like, I think I spoke about this, like, I don't know, it was last week or one of the previous podcasts, that as long as a gap doesn't start forming, you're still there. Like, as I said, there's still only 5 points between us and Forest. And I think the teams even above them, I think there's a couple of teams on 10 points, we're on 5. And then you look at the start of the season that we had, not having a ground ready, having to get to stadium, having to start on the road, having our second game have to be rescheduled, starting against Brighton, who were a phenomenal last season in the Premier League. Chelsea, who were, everyone expected to come back. West Ham, who were coming off a European victory. It was a hard start to the season. It really was. You look at that, and now you go, okay, in the last 5 games, we've got 5 points. We're averaging a point a game in the last 5 games.
And we should have more.
And we probably should have more, yeah. Now, that'll probably end on Saturday, Sunday. But you can see as Rob Edwards has said before, progression. We need to. We're showing the signs of getting better and getting the grips of this league.
And whereas I think you and me probably think we don't stand much of a chance of getting a result on Sunday, though I'd love one. But I mean, obviously Villa's home form. But I mean, obviously, home forms. Forms are there for breaking. But if we're not confident, you can guarantee the team are going to get thinking we fancy this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no way Rob Edwards is going into that game thinking, okay, just roll over, lads. We'll get to the week after. Because the games don't get any easier now for the next couple of games. I think we've got Villa, and then it was Liverpool, United.
Well, United might be an easier one.
United probably will be an easier one. But there's no it's not getting any easier, and this league doesn't get any easier, unfortunately.
And then you got the semi, you got the sort of, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea.
Yeah.
But you've also got Sheffield United and Bournemouth in there as well.
Yep. And I'll be honest, you're looking at those 2 games and going, lads, come on. Like, stick the nail in the coffin. With them 2 teams. Like, they're massive, massive games. No matter what the results are against Villa, Liverpool, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, City. Like, if we don't pick up a point against any of those teams, pick up points against Bournemouth and Sheffield United.
But I think it's a point is a point. So it's obviously nobody's relegated by Christmas, and I said we're not in the relegation zone either. So it's
You're not relegated by Christmas.
oh, sorry, nobody told Garth Crooks that, did he?
Is that not mathematically possible? Fucking cunt.
Strangely enough, it's not. I did notice Team of the Week. He actually, so you thought Chris Woods might make it because the way Garth Crooks picked Team of the Week is players who have scored goals. And you think a player who scored 2 goals who put in there. However, that would mean he has to talk about us, which means he has to talk about the comeback, which means he'd be like, yeah, and then have to make some excuse. And so I think he just swerved it.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
But yeah,
we spoke about pundits before, and I've said before as well. I think at this point it's just clickbait. They're just looking for clicks. They're looking for the engagement. You know, they're looking for the Luton fans to be up in arms. They're looking for that because they're obviously gaining something from it. You know, whether it's clicks or whatever.
The ones who are into shit trolling. I mean, you'd be great with them, but it's
my people, my sort of people.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you do see some of the pundits now, some of the bit more of a crew. They are giving us a little bit of respect.
Micah Richards.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: I didn't watch Match of the Day on Saturday because obviously I'd seen the game. I didn't watch Match of the Day on Saturday. It was just too much hassle having to get everything set up to watch it on BBC's website, and so I didn't see the way it actually came across. But from reading it, Micah Richards obviously turned around and said, you know, we're very direct and you're playing to the strengths, and there's something about Luton, and you know we've got a chance, and we're always in there with a chance. And then it Shearer said something along the lines of credit to Luton, they didn't give up.
Yeah,
which is to my mind now is 2 weeks, maybe 2 of the last 3 weeks, that he's basically just added a 5-second tidbit that like a throwaway at the end of it because he doesn't want to give us any real credit, you know. I mean, that's what, and as I said, I didn't watch it, so it could have come across differently, but that's the way it came across reading it.
That is, I mean, he did say well done Luton twice, and I think well done Adebayo for the chance on those ones. I think the way it works is, I think you just pick up on it because obviously that first game he sliced us after Brighton, but I think some after the other games he's kind of it depends on, you've got one pundit might take a lead, one might just chip in with a few comments here or there. And they probably take it in turns. And apparently, I think Burnley, they were absolutely very, very critical. I didn't bother watching that part of it, but it's. I mean, what I would say, with their editing, it made us look like we only had 2 shots at the end, but the commentary sort of seems to be a bit more generous on that. I mean, we had more of that. We had a chance in the first half as well, I think.
Someone needs to. I don't know. I'm sure the club has a striking coach. He needs to spend some serious time with Jacob Brown.
Yeah.
Like serious time.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Jacob Brown, I like him a lot for his work.
Yeah,
he's just been, when he's had the chances for him, to be thinking, right, if they falls for anybody else, you think. I mean, sometimes it's just he almost hits it too perfectly or hits it down the goalkeeper's throat, but he's going to get a goal at some point. I
fucking hope so. I was thinking I was honestly thinking that a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, he'll score at some point and he'll get off the mark, and that'll be the start of it. And I think the same thing about Chio. And Chio's got off the mark now. Brown, I'm just like, I'm not so sure. Like, is his finishing just maybe not that good? Because as you said, I like him. I like him as a player. He gives a lot. He's a ton of energy. He hustles and he hassles defenders, doesn't give them time on the ball. You know, everything about his game is fine, apart from the finish.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got to move on to Villa, and it's, I think you mentioned, do you start Barkley? To me personally, you don't start Barkley against Villa. You start with sort of, you know, you start with probably the same two in midfield.
That's why I was just going to ask you, who do you start? Do you start with Pellion and Nakamba?
Yes.
I think Nakamba is a given. Nakamba is probably one of the first names on the team sheet. It probably goes Locks, Nakamba, Morris.
Yeah.
And you kind of build around that. Doughty's doing really well lately, yeah.
Yeah, but I think you start probably sort of, you know, with Pelly and Nakamba, and then you sort of, you know, then you've got sort of a Barkley or something to bring on when you need to, or something, or if you need to. I think you need to keep it tight initially. I think.
Do you go to 5 at the back, back to 5 at the back, or do you keep your 4 at the back?
Depends who you've got fit, doesn't it? Really?
And that's what I was just about to say. Given that you were probably let's just say for argument's sake, we're picking the side, Burke's not fit.
No.
You know, he's not fit to play. Do you go with 4 at the back, or do you go? Because my concern is what you said earlier on. Kabore is not great defensively, but he's brilliant going forward. If we play 4 at the back, you're asking him to do a lot more defensively than you would probably like from him. Where if you play 5 at the back, you're basically saying, "Look, get forward."
But we don't have 3 fit centre backs, do we?
Osho came through 60 minutes.
Yeah, that's not fit.
Rob Edwards still has his football boot, right? Can we register him?
I mean, unless you want to start Joe Johnson, I'm thinking no, that would be a little bit unfair. I know he's played for the under 18s or England under 18s, but you don't throw him in for a full debut. That's just unfair on him.
No, you don't. Maybe to you go with the 4 that we said earlier on, with Dowdy on the right, Locks, Mengi, and Jaws on the left.
Yeah, well, I think Kabore probably over Giles. Kabore is suspect defensively, but not as suspect as that. The only thing you might do is you might double up and sort of, say have Giles and Doughty, but then again, that means you're missing out on the sort of Ogbeni or Brown.
And that's another question I was going to ask you. Like, if you do have to play Kabore at right back, and you know that defensively he's not as strong, do you stick Ogbene from the left to the right? Because he seems to be switching sides anyway.
Well, actually, it did start more fullback, didn't it, on Saturday? So I suppose that you start Doughty on.
There was times,
there was
times where I seen the lineup and it had Reece Burke at right back, but then at one point during the first half, I looked and I went, "No, they're definitely playing a back 3, just because the way Mengi, Locks, and Burke were lined up." But then there was other points where Burke did go out wide to the right hand side.
But he's always done that from centre back anyway, so.
Yeah, and exactly. He's always done that. It's just the way Luton play. They play with 5 at the back, but it's always been a case of, okay, we're 5 at the back, but when we're in possession, it goes to 2. Burke moves out to the right, or goes the other way. And Bell, was Bell at one point, goes out to the left, and Burke and Locks come in. And we've always done that. But the defensive stuff is worrying me, because we're coming up against Ollie Watkins, and I'm still having nightmares about the last time Ollie Watkins played against us.
Okay, can't remember that. But...
I try to forget it. I actively try to forget it.
Yeah, that was
7-0.
Yeah, that was different circumstances.
He destroyed us that day. Like, I remember sitting there going, I remember watching that game and just being like, how is he not in the Premier League? Like, he worries me. Villa have a great side. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of players in the team you need to look out for. But Watkins is the one that I'm looking at going, don't fucking give him the chances that you gave Forest on Saturday.
Who was the last striker we played? You actually texted, he worries me, you don't want to see his name in the team.
Was it Calvert-Lewin?
It was, yeah.
And he scored.
And we won.
But he scored.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take Watkins scoring all day if it means we win 2-1 or 3-1.
He's in my dream team, so as long as we win or something, if he scores, that's fine.
Watkins is in your dream team?
Well, yeah, my fantasy football team.
So if Watkins scores on Sunday, it's Nick's fault.
No, because
he wants the points.
No, not that. I'm quite happy to have him to get no points there whatsoever.
Sure.
I'm not you.
Nah, I don't bet my own team. I learned my lesson.
You haven't learned
it never goes well.
No. But yeah, I mean, other news apart from that in the games, because it's we'll stop in a minute. Glenn Ray has signed for National League South Worthing. I think, Jesus Christ, that's a hell of a signing for them.
Yeah, like when I seen it, I'm like, nah, that's gotta be a mistake. But I mean, I don't know what. Like, do you think he's gone? Like, it's obviously a personal thing, because I think someone said
it's non-contract. He was there at Nottingham on Saturday supporting us.
Yeah, I think someone said along the lines of it's close to Brighton. Like, I don't know, I'm not good with British geography, but someone said it's close to Brighton or close to that area.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe it may be just a completely personal reason,
It could be. It's,
fair play.
It's a bit of a sign for them, but also it's non-contract terms. So I think what you may have done is gone there, play a bit, build up
keep his fitness up.
If an offer comes in from a league club or even conference one, then he'll go.
Yeah, and I mean, you say conference, but Glenn Ray is a player that, I'll be honest with you, if Luton were in League One, I think he could still do a job for us.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Well, that's what I said. I said League
he's a
One, League
passable.
Two conference.
Yeah, he's a passable player. He's a very, very good player, and he fair play to the National League South side because they've got a hell of a player in their team, and I kind of glanced and seen they were just outside the playoffs, and maybe he helps them get into the playoffs. Maybe he helps them get promoted. But
or maybe he plays a few games. Plays a few games.
Gets a contract somewhere else. Wish nothing but the best for Glenn Ray because he was fantastic for Luton.
Indeed. Right. That's about all we've got time for because I've just seen how long we've been going on for. It's been going way too long for one game. We got 5 games this time last time. So
I know, right?
Yep. So I will see you next time as long as you don't suggest a game's recording on a fucking match day.
Do we have a game next Tuesday?
Don't think so, no.
Okay. We're fucked if we ever get into the Champions League.
No, we're not. You just don't suggest it.
Can't record Tuesdays, can't record Wednesdays.
Yeah, well, you just don't suggest it.
You're making it so difficult, Nick. So difficult.
Yeah, well, you deserve it.